Would you like to be free, truly free, right now? My name is Courtney Smith, and I want to tell you about how you can be free right now. And I want to show you some critical information. But first, let me show you what freedom might mean to you, and it certainly means this to me. I love to travel. So here's an example of, I'm in Kuala Lumpur here. It was kind of a rainy day. Here's a beautiful picture of a sunset in Belize. Here you get to actually see me. I'm in a beautiful garden in Spain on a recent trip that I was there. Perhaps freedom to you, though, means the ability to go to the Kentucky Derby. That was a lot of fun. Or maybe you like just being up in the mountains where it's absolutely crisp and clear and clean. I work as a professional trader, and here I am hard at work in a beautiful house in Maui. Or perhaps you'd like to visit the top of a volcano. Or maybe just kick back and chill on a cruise out of Acapulco. I want you to stop for just a second and imagine a life where you can live where you want, where your lifestyle is dramatically better than it is now, and where you are truly free. To me, this means that you live where you want. You do what you want with who you want right now. I don't believe that people should wait until they're 65 and retired before they get to do these things. I believe that people should be able to do these things right now. And in this video, I want to show you that. So in this video, I want to show you that you can be free right now. That all of those blocks that you have in your mind about being free, well, I've got a job and responsibilities. I want to show you that you actually have the ability to be far freer right now. I want to show you in this video how you can do it, and I want to give you an action plan for success so that you can live that dream life of travel, of luxury, without having to work or work very little. I want to show that to you in this video. But first, let me give you a little bit of background on me and how I came to want to put this video together for you. So let me tell you my story a little bit before we get into the hardcore information that I want to teach you. Now, I've been in this business for a long time, about 35 years, and I reached a very high level of success in this business. I've made it to the cover of trading magazines because of my trading success. I've written 9 books. Here's the 2 most recent of those books on trading foreign exchange and options. I've been on TV over 1,000 times, being interviewed on CNN, FNN, CNBC, Reuters, Bloomberg, and all the usual suspects out there. Been on just about every TV station you can imagine. But I'm a professional trader, and I was able to get my global macro fund up to being the #1 global macro hedge fund in the world for a 5-year period. I was able to get my newsletter up to the best performing newsletter, according to Hulbert, over a 5-year period. And in addition, I was able to manage the #1 growth mutual fund in the United States. I mean, these are not trivial accomplishments. I'm the only person who's actually been able to do all of those things, having a top-performing hedge fund, mutual fund, and stock-picking letter. Nobody else has ever done that. So I have some pretty good success in my career. But things were not always perfect. I was achieving a tremendous amount, but I was working like a dog. And I was taxed so much that I was spending more time working for the government than for me. I was living in New York City, and then combined the New York City, state, and federal taxes, and my tax rate was pushing 60%. I was fed up. I had been doing this for 30 years. I had achieved tremendous success in my career, but I was fed up. So I quit. So within a year, I had closed the hedge fund. I had resigned from the mutual fund, and I resigned from the newsletter. I left Wall Street. This was something that stunned people. How could I build these tremendous track records? And when you build a tremendous track record in a hedge fund, the money comes flowing in, and just being the management fees become incredibly high numbers. And you see these hedge fund managers making hundreds of millions of dollars on their management fees, and I turned my back on all that. I was the chief investment officer of a mutual fund company. I turned my back on that. I turned my back on Wall Street. And the reason is because I wanted to define a new freedom life, a life where I was in control, where I could really live the dream that we all say we want, that we work for 40 years, 50 years in our lives just so we can be 65 and then retire. And then what do? We move into a double-wide trailer and we get to take a couple trips overseas, and we get to go to the bingo parlor. And I said, you know what? I don't want that kind of a freedom life, and I don't want to wait until I'm 65. I want to do a freedom lifestyle when I'm still young and can really enjoy it. And so I decided to change my life dramatically, and I did. I actually started moving around the world. I started spending months in other countries. And yet, I wasn't living off my savings. I was creating a truly unique lifestyle where I had the things that I wanted. But I know you're saying, I'd love to be free, but I can't afford to live in some exotic location. It costs a lot of money to live overseas, and I can't speak any weird languages, and I don't know how to set myself up in a foreign country. I mean, how do you rent a place, and how do you get TV service and cable and a cell phone? And I can't really leave my current job and situation. I'm stuck here. I can't really get out of my current situation. I can't afford to live a freedom lifestyle. Well, I want to show you how you can do that right now. I don't think you should have to wait for a long time. I think you should do it right now. So let's first of all define what might be the ideal lifestyle. And the ideal lifestyle is you need to first and stop and think about a very interesting concept. We don't have to do everything in one location. So, for example, where should I live? Well, that can be different from where you work. And that can be different from where you pay taxes. And that can be different from where you bank. And that can be different from where you visit on vacation. This concept is called the multi-flag concept. And the reality is you sit down and you say to yourself, well, where do I want to live? Well, that can be different from where you work. I'm going to explain this in just a second, but I want you to realize that you could actually have a different country, for each one of these items. You could live in one country and work in another and pay taxes in a third country, but all your banking is in a fourth. And of course, you're visiting many, many countries because you like to travel. So let's take a look at this in more detail. Each person is different. Your criteria of, for example, what makes a wonderful place to live is going to be different from mine. So I don't want to tell you where you should live. That's very different. But I'm going to give you the how to figure it out. So the first thing you need to do is you need to create a list of things that are important to you. Housing. What I mean by this is, do you want to live in a big mansion? Do you want to live in a nice apartment? Can it be kind of funky, or does it have to be really 5-star? In other words, how do you want to live your housing? Because, of course, that's a big part of our life. What about culture and entertainment? Maybe you're very self-sufficient and you just like to read books quietly by the fireplace. Perhaps you like to go out to discos all night long. I don't know. Maybe you like opera and classical music. Maybe you like rock and roll and country. So these are some of the things when we talk about culture and entertainment. Healthcare. Perhaps you have some health issues, or you're worried that you might have some health issues for you or someone in your family. Maybe you're young or maybe you don't have any health issues, and so the healthcare of the country that you're in is not such a big problem. Education. This is usually you've got some kids, primary school, high school, whatever, and you need to make sure that wherever you live has good education. So, first of all, what are the important things to you? I've listed 4 big ones here, but of course there's many more things. Where your religion might be one. There's just a ton of them. So put these things down. Stop and create a list of those things that are important to you. Now, the next part of this process is that I want you to rank them. So, for example, these are my rankings. Housing is really important to me. I love to live in beautiful surroundings. Now, the beautiful surroundings are both the house and the setting of the house. In other words, to me, I would love to live on a house or an apartment next to the beach. It doesn't have to be a house for me. It could be an apartment, but I want to live near the beach, near the ocean. That would be a real high value. So I'm going to rank that 10 as something that's really important to me. Culture and entertainment, not so important to me. I don't really care. I am pretty self-sufficient there. So, I do like reading books, and the internet is pretty amazing what you can get over the internet now. So I don't really feel the need that I have to go to clubs or theaters or things like that. Even movies, you can download them all now. iTunes is fabulous for that. So there's no real need for me anyway. For you, it might be different. Healthcare, I am getting a little older these days, so it's not that I have any serious health problems, but I want to make sure that I have reasonable access. It doesn't have to be super critical. I don't have to live in Manhattan or some other medical center in order to receive health care, but I want to have it available or have it nearby. Education's not important to me at all. I don't have any kids that I need to worry about education, so it's not important to me at all. So this gives me, with this kind of criteria, I can now start to narrow down where it is I want to live. So let's take a look at that. So for me, I mentioned some of my criteria, but some of the other criteria, I really like great weather. I'm not a cold weather person anymore. I lived in Chicago. I lived in Canada. I've had enough cold weather in my life. I really want a nice, balmy, tropical type of environment. I also want a low cost to live. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I mean, you can see I spend a lot of time in Hawaii, but, it's expensive in Hawaii. So I don't really consider living there because I want my money to last me a long time. And more importantly, it's like when I put down some money on my living expenses, I want to live like a king. So I want to be able to live in a place where I can spend a very little amount of money and get a great apartment or a great house. I also like interesting places where it's an interesting new culture. I've lived in the U.S. and Canada a lot, but I like living in other countries where the culture is different. That could be as exotic as Indonesia. It could be as more normal as, let's say, London. But I like something interesting. Great eating. I'm a single bachelor, so I eat out in restaurants just about 3 meals a day. So great eating is important to me. And it doesn't mean that it has to be 5-star restaurants in Paris or 3-star Michelin restaurants. But what I'm saying is that there has to be some interesting, good places where I can go there every day and I know I'm going to get a good meal at a decent price. I also like relaxed places. I like to visit places like New York and Hong Kong. I get really a buzz out of them, and I lived in Manhattan for 20 years. But for my daily life, I like things to be kind of relaxed, mellow. I don't want any hassles at all. Well, with this kind of a criteria then, and of course, remember, you're going to have a different criteria than me. Well, what would be some choices of where I could live that satisfies these 5 criteria? Well, let's take a look. How about Bali? Bali is as close to paradise on earth for me. The people are wonderful. The weather's beautiful. Cost of living is unbelievably low. You can have a live-in masseuse for $50 a month. $50 a month. A maid, $50 a month. The cost of labor is close to zero in Bali. Housing, very modest. The problem with Bali is that if you live there as a tourist, you can only stay for 30 days, and every 30 days you've got to get on a plane and fly to some other country and then turn around and come back into the country. That's called a visa run for those of us who live this lifestyle. So Bali has a disadvantage there, and it's also very difficult to buy property there. Possible, but hard. How about Malaysia? Malaysia's got a lot of pluses. Not quite as cheap as Bali, but the people are very nice. They have a great program there called M2H, My Second Home, where you can go there, and if you buy an apartment or any piece of property for $100,000, they give you residency, legal residency, which means that you can come and go as much as you want. So that's a pretty attractive deal. Weather balmy, just a nice place to live. Also very cheap to live, very, very cheap. It's going to cost you more for that maid or driver. You might want to have a driver if you live in Kuala Lumpur because the traffic's a bit tough. But as soon as you get out of KL, you can find some beautiful beachfront places that don't cost very much at all. How about a 5-bedroom beachfront house for $1,100 rent per month? That's pretty scary. Mexico's good because it's close to North America. That means you can visit friends and family very easily. Yeah, I know, I see the headlines of all the drug wars and everything, but you know what? There's tons of places where that drug war doesn't exist. I like to focus a lot on the Yucatan because I love the Mayan architecture and the history there. And so Mexico's a place that I usually go at least once a year, chill out, usually around Christmas, spend a couple weeks there. Really, really nice. Belize takes me 2 flights to get there. It's not as easy to get to. But Belize also has some very attractive residency requirements. Their pensionado status, which is, let me translate that. That's a retiree status. It's very easy to get residency. I spend a little bit of time every year in Belize over on Ambergris Caye, which is one of the islands off the coast of Belize. But the mainland also has great Mayan architecture, which I'm a big fan of. I'm fascinated by it. But hey, Ambergris Caye, I just walk across the street and I'm in a beautiful ocean. Could go snorkeling there. Great mellow atmosphere. Internet, not so hot. The concept of high-speed internet, those 2 words don't go together in Belize. But other than that, it's got a lot of great things going for it. I'm just sketching out some places to live. Now notice, I didn't say any of these are very good places to work. You certainly wouldn't want to really bank in any of them. Maybe Belize. But these are places that I want to live. These are places that are very attractive places to live. But I don't want to work in any of these places. So, I like to work. So even as a semi-retired person, I'm the hardest working retired person on the face of the earth because I don't really work. I play all the time, but people pay me to play, so that's a good thing. So to me, I like to work, but I also like to have the ability to have the freedom not to work when I don't want to. But I like finding great projects and doing things. So where do I want to work? And I'm putting that work in quotes because you may be in a situation where you don't have money in the bank, you can't retire, but you still want to live a global freedom lifestyle. So, well, how can you do that? Well, these are 3 possibilities. Trading. And by the way, I've done all 3 of these. So I know the pros and cons, and let's take a look at them. Trading. I am a professional trader. I also educate people about trading. I write books about it. I do seminars. I manage people's money. But guess what? Trading is something that I can do from anywhere in the world as long as I have an internet connection. I love to trade. It's not work. It's really incredible. Now, I do my trading through a corporation. So my work is done where the corporation is. And I'm going to get to that in just a second of where you should have this business. But so my work location is not where I'm physically working from, but it's the location of the corporation that I use to trade through. Well, what about internet businesses? This is just an awesome way to make money that didn't even exist 15 years ago. But now you can make very good money and sometimes incredible money on the internet. Now, when I talked about living in places like Malaysia and Bali, you can live like a king in those places for only a couple grand a month. So your income only has to be, let's say, $30,000 a year. You see, one of the things that's really important is to realize that it's actually far cheaper to live offshore than it is in the United States. To live in a decent lifestyle in West LA, you need about a pre-tax income of $100,000. Oh, let me come back. I'm going to tell you about this in a few minutes, but let me just show you this first. But I can show you that you've got to get offshore very, very soon. You can't afford to stay in your current lifestyle. Well, anyway, internet businesses, awesome way to make some money. And once again, you only need a few $1,000s a month to make money here. So information businesses, consulting, advertising-based businesses, there's a lot of different business models that you can use on the internet in order to make money. Consulting, a third way. You may have a particular skill set that is in high demand. Maybe you're an engineer, a consultant, a therapist. And so you may be in the position where you can, let's say, fly back to the United States, do a bunch of consulting for 6 weeks, make 20 grand, and then fly back to Malaysia and live like a king for another 6 months. So 2 6-week trips back to the U.S., living like a king, sounds pretty good to me. Now, I have to say one caveat. Don't forget, I'm not a tax expert, so please consult a competent professional. This is really important. I don't want you to take this lifestyle and then screw it up because you file your taxes incorrectly. That would be totally ridiculous. But what should your work be? Well, I believe that the work should not be where you live. For example, I'm an American. If I work in the United States, then I definitely have to pay federal taxes, and most likely I'm going to have to pay state taxes. So I'm going to probably have a tax rate in most cases of 45%, something like that, which means I'm spending almost half the year working for one government or another. Now, if I live offshore, I don't have to pay any state taxes. I still have to pay federal taxes, but I believe the first $94,000 that I make offshore are tax-free. Well, that's a pretty big advantage to not live in the United States. And that kind of a situation is true in just about every country. If you're Canadian and you live overseas, you don't pay any Canadian tax at all. So you're in great shape. Now, remember, talk to a tax professional. So you don't want to have your job where you live. So if you could live in Bali or Malaysia or Belize and then have your business in a different country, you're going to really be saving usually a lot of money in taxes. So you want your work to be in a low tax environment. I'm not a big fan of putting it in a pure tax haven. You know the names, I won't name them, for the simple reason that every time you deal with your government, like if I had my business, in Bermuda or Cayman Islands or something like that, then every time I deal with the U.S. government, I'm going to probably get more hassle, and I don't want a life where I got a hassle from the IRS. So I think it's better to be in a low tax environment where the taxes are so low you don't really care. For your business, you want to be in a low regulation environment because, after all, regulation is really just another form of taxation. So let's take a look at a couple of choices here of what would be a good place to locate your work. Well, I'm a big fan of Singapore and Switzerland. Switzerland has still the idea that it's a tax haven of some type. So I'm a big fan of Singapore right now. And Singapore has very low taxes. You might pay 9%. But it's a real sensible tax structure. It's easy to set up a corporation there, very easy, low regulations. You kind of, every time I deal with the Singapore government, I keep thinking, boy, this is reasonable. This makes like sense to me. So these are places to set up companies and do your work through your company out of these locations. Taxes, of course, are a big thing. I mentioned before, you don't really want to live in your home country. So you want to pay taxes in the country you work in. So I just mentioned paying Swiss taxes or Singapore taxes. One of the cool things in Switzerland, by the way, is some of the cantons. Canton is what they call a state or a province. Some of the cantons have some unique tax advantages. For example, one canton doesn't tax intellectual property. So if you're an author or a consultant with some unique intellectual property, you may be able to have no taxes at all on that income. You may still have to pay some taxes like Americans back in your home country, but once again, Americans get about $94,000 of income before they have to start paying taxes. So there's some significant tax advantages in these countries. I got to give you the caveat again, though. I'm no tax expert. Please don't screw up this part. This is really important. You don't want to get in any trouble because you're not paying your taxes correctly. Now, I mentioned that I like Malaysia, Bali. These are some beautiful places to live. Do I want to bank in any of those places? No, I don't think so. Well, you may say, well, Switzerland, of course, is a banking center. Yes, but Switzerland has given up a lot of its advantages over the last several years, and I'm not a big fan of banking in Switzerland anymore. And this is coming from a guy who's actually lived in Switzerland. The places I like right now are Singapore and Hong Kong, in particular Singapore. Great banks, super solid, way more solid than any European or American banks. They will still accept Americans. Of course, every country will accept Canadians and other people. But a lot of countries don't want Americans for clients anymore because they don't want the hassle of the American government. Singapore's still allowing it. Hong Kong's still allowing it. And so these are places where you want to bank. Well, Courtney, how am I going to get my money to pay my bills? Thank God for ATM machines. I lived in London for 2 years, and every time I'd walk down the street, I'd go get another 200 or 300 pounds out of the machine and use that to pay my rent, pay my bills, pay everything. I lived on a cash economy because I was not banking in London and I was not working in London. And in fact, I really wasn't even living there. I was simply a tourist in London. Now, the other part is we want to have a lot of fun. These are kind of the hardcore things that we need to do in our daily life. But what about where do we want to visit? Listen, come on, I love Italy. What a great place to visit. Don't want to live there because the taxes are way too high. Certainly don't want to pay taxes in Italy. Spain is so cheap now. You got to love these crises because you can now rent beautiful 2-bedroom apartments in Spain on the beach for about $800 a month. And I saw some modest ones for $400 a month. Can you afford not to live part of the year in Spain? I think not. Thailand, another place for $2,000 a month. You can live like a god in Thailand. Rents around $600-800 a month. It's peanuts there. Mexico, also a great place to visit. Obviously, be careful. Costa Rica, not a great place to live, but a great place to visit. So beautiful, so beautiful. So let me come to the point where I want to kind of talk about where people think that I can't really afford to live this great lifestyle that you're talking about, Courtney, but let's go through some numbers for a second. If I'm in West LA, I need to earn about $100,000 a year in order to pre-tax, in order to live a normal lifestyle there. Not an exotic lifestyle, but I mean just a normal, middle class lifestyle is going to cost me about $100,000 to live in West LA. Now, I admit West LA is certainly more expensive than some places like Tennessee or whatever. But let me just use that because it's a pretty well-known place. Well, to live the same lifestyle in, let's say, Malaysia, probably no more than $3,000 a month. Now remember, if you followed my advice and you're doing your work outside the United States, then if you're an American, that $30,000 may be tax-free or have a very, very small tax rate. Say if you're working out of Singapore, you might pay a couple grand in taxes, no big deal. So all of a sudden, you don't need to work 40 hours a week, pounding it away at a job all the time, just so that you can support your lifestyle there. You could move to a place like Malaysia, have a much, much better lifestyle, a much better apartment or house, to have a maid or a cook or a driver, all in that $30,000 a year or $3,000 a month. So all of a sudden you go like, wow, I don't really need to make a lot of money. I need to make a modest amount of money. And you need to start thinking that you can't even afford to live in West LA anymore. You've got to get out of there and move someplace else. Even Spain, you can live now for about $3,000 a month. So it's much cheaper to live overseas. So now you say, well, how can I make that $3,000 a month? And I outlined several ways you can do that through trading or consulting or an internet business. Those are 3 ways. I'm sure you can come up with more, but those are ways that you can do that. Now, I gave a number of ways of where to live. I said Malaysia. Well, you know what? You may hate Malaysia, and it may not fit your criteria at all. So let's not be foolish here. Go and take a vacation and go spend a week in Malaysia and spend a week in Bali and see if they fit what you're interested in. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. To me, they're close to paradise on earth. For you, they may be too weird, exotic, dirty. Who knows what your problem will be with them? Healthcare is not very good in either one of them. In Malaysia, though, you can get to Singapore in 45 minutes or let's say a couple of hours, and Singapore has great, great healthcare. So go visit them. Don't be foolish. Go take your vacations there before you cut and take this freedom lifestyle. But nonetheless, I want you to realize that the ability to transfer from your current lifestyle into a freedom lifestyle is easier than you can imagine. First of all, it's going to cost you a lot less money to live this lifestyle, and it will be a better lifestyle than what you're leading now. Your current job, if you're really important in that company, you probably can work out a telecommuting deal and move overseas right now. And if you can't work out a telecommuting deal, then you can probably work out a consulting deal where maybe you work in your current job for a month every so often, and the rest of the time you're down in Mexico telecommuting. Be creative. If your boss really wants you, he's going to let you do that because you're so valuable. If you own the business, hire a good manager and then just come back every so often and manage the company remotely. You still probably need an on-site manager to drive the company forward. You'll make less money, but you're going to need far less to live this lifestyle. So I want to then digress, or let me just wrap that up. This lifestyle, to me, is an incredibly positive experience because I get to go around the world and I get to meet great people and I get to travel with the seasons so that I'm not stuck in the winter when it's cold. I get to go where it's nice and warm and live a great lifestyle. Typically what I do is I will go on to places like Craigslist and I'll simply look for a 1 or 2 month sublease on a house or an apartment. And that'll cost me a little bit of money. I go there. If I need, I take a big suitcase of clothes and I've got my laptop, so I'm ready to roll as soon as I come in. I always rent a furnished place, so it's nice and pleasant for me to move right in. If I need clothes or toiletries or things like that, guess what? I can always buy them where I am. There's no big deal. I put all my previous belongings in storage, and they're just sitting there in boxes. And I just gave up all those things that were tying me down and forcing me to be stuck in just one location. Now I get to travel, be with great people in great places around the world when I want to be in those great places. I'm not sitting around for my 2 weeks of vacation to go to a great place. No, I get to go to a great place, and every so often I have to spend 2 weeks in a crappy location. So this lifestyle, to me, the biggest negative, and why you might not want to consider it, is really to me, the only negative really is maybe you have really close relationships with friends and family that you don't want to give up. But that would argue for places like Mexico or Costa Rica, which are pretty easy to fly back to North America, whereas a place like Thailand is a long way away. Bali is a long way away. But the reality is, this is a lifestyle that you can achieve in a very, very short time horizon. To me, there's no reason why you can't live this lifestyle in 1, 2, 3 months, something like that. There is a time to wrap up the old life, get rid of the old balls and chains that you've got on your life, the things that are shackling to a job that forces you to work many, many hours and pay high taxes, high regulations, beating your head against the wall day in and day out. It'll take a little while to get out of that. But I know you can do it. And I know from my own personal experience. I started this lifestyle in 2000. It's now over a decade later. I've lived in some of the greatest locations in the world. I've lived in Europe. I've lived in Asia. I've lived in Latin America. Each one of them has their pluses and minuses. I've enjoyed all of them. And that ability to move and to be that flexible creates a flexible mentality. It creates a joy in your life that you don't feel when you have the normal lifestyle that most people have. You get up in the morning and you say, wow, what new great adventure am I going to have today? Or how am I going to just chill and relax today instead of pounding my head against a wall? It's your choice as to what you want to do. The global freedom lifestyle is all about choice. It's all about really living the life that you want and desire right now. It's not waiting around till you're 65. It's creating your ideal lifestyle right now. It's about taking concrete action right now to live the dream. That's such a cliche, but I believe that the freedom lifestyle is the dream of nearly everybody, and that includes you. And what I want to do is to show you in this short video, I've shown you some of the key elements that you need to be thinking about and how you can do it. Now, the question is, how can I help you do this? Because I really want to help you achieve your dream life. So what I've put together is I've put together a seminar. I've put together a seminar, really a complete package, not just a seminar, but a complete package to give you the direction and tools to create your global freedom lifestyle. You got to think of this as a jumpstart. You can do it on your own. There's no question about it. I'm not going to insult you by saying that you have to take my seminar. You don't have to. You can do it on your own. I just want to help jumpstart it so you can achieve it quicker and better and with less expense. So the first thing that is going to occur with our Global Freedom Lifestyle Package is a 2-day seminar. And this 2-day seminar, we're going to first of all analyze where you should live, bank, work, etc. And as I mentioned, everybody is different. So you're going to figure this out. We're going to give you the direction and the guidance and the knowledge you need to immediately zero in on where you should live, bank, work, visit, etc. And so we're going to go through. So we're going to do things like, you're going to say, well, healthcare is very important to me. Okay, well, great. Then if healthcare is really important to you, then that narrows down the number of countries where you should consider living. I mentioned Singapore. Great healthcare in Singapore. But it's a little more expensive to live. You need a little higher income compared to Malaysia. But what if you lived just across the border in Malaysia? so that you could easily get the great healthcare in Singapore. We're going to go through all of that and show you the ways and we're going to give you the exact place that you should be living, banking, and working based on your criteria, not my criteria, your criteria. But we've got the knowledge base that we can fine-tune your decision in a very quick manner. So that's something we're going to do with everybody in the audience. The second thing is what's going to come out of a lot of this is we're going to create a workbook for your freedom lifestyle that has all these matrices where you can see, oh, well, this country's really good for this and that country's really poor for that. And that's going to be a deliverable that you'll be able to take with you and refer to over the rest of your life. Now, another critical thing is, things change. You may change. Maybe health becomes an important consideration. Maybe your kids graduate and education becomes a zero consideration. So this workbook and this analysis will enable you to reinvent your global freedom lifestyle based on your current situations. Now, I've told you a couple of times in this presentation that I want you to consult with experts about taxes. So we're going to have Canadian and American tax experts at the seminar who can give you real professional advice. Like I say, I'm no expert, but I know experts, and I refer to those experts, and I do what they tell me to do to make sure there's no problem whatsoever. We will have experts there who can handle both Canadian and Americans, and so please, we will have those there so that you can once again jumpstart and truly understand the ramifications of living a global freedom lifestyle. There is, generally speaking, there are less taxes, but you got a couple more forms to fill out if you're an American. A big critical thing that we're going to show you how to do is we're going to show you how to make a living while living free. We can't live for free. We do have to have money, and if you're fortunate to have a lot of money in the bank, that's great. But we want to show you how to make a living while living free, where you don't have to spend a lot of hours, or maybe we'll even show you how to have fun while you're working so it's not work anymore. We talk about, those three business models. We're going to show you the pros and cons of trading, consulting, internet businesses, plus more. Those are just three ones to spark your curiosity and spark your thinking so that you can start to think about how you can do that. We've got people that are doing these things who are going to teach you how to make a living while living free. Guess what? You can usually start these things before you quit your current job. In other words, once again, I'm not telling you to be stupid and quit your job today, but there's no reason why you can't start creating the lifestyle today via visits to where you think you might want to move to and creating that moonlighting income and getting it to the point where you feel comfortable and relaxed about relocating to a global lifestyle. We got more stuff for you in this seminar. This is a 2-day seminar, so it's jam-packed with critical information. We want to give you concrete, real world information. In other words, when you say, oh, I want to live in Malaysia, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, if you live in Kuala Lumpur, you probably don't have to learn the local language. Nearly everybody speaks English, so you're going to be in good shape. But if you move to Ipoh in Malaysia, you're going to have a tougher time. You're going to have to learn the language. Well, guess what? The local language is Bahasa, and it's the easiest language in the world to learn. For example, if you want to make something plural, all you do is say it twice. So we would say I have 2 cars. They would say I have car. I could go on, but it's an amazingly simple language. We're going to tell you how to get a cell phone there, how to rent a house, how to get the utilities installed. So we're going to give you that concrete, real-world information so you can just show up and start going through the checklist and making it happen. One of the things that stops people from having a freedom lifestyle is that they go like, I don't know what to do when I get there. Like, Do you get a cell phone like you do here, or what do you have to do? For example, in some countries, you can get a pay-as-you-go cell phone if you show them the passport. In some countries, you can get a pay-as-you-go cell phone without any ID at all. So we're going to give you that concrete, real-world information so that when you get off the plane, you can immediately get good quality, concrete information to really live the life that we're talking about. The course, the final thing, is you will create your personal freedom lifestyle action plan. And this is going to be personalized for you so that it's your plan of how you can be free ASAP. Now, we don't want to leave you hanging there. The seminar is only the start of the process. We really want to continually support you and make sure that you've got no excuses for living free. So what we also are going to give you is a very deep website. Now, on this website is a complete guide to living, working, banking in key countries. So I mentioned in the seminar, we're going to tell you a lot of this concrete, real-world information, but guess what? On the website, we're going to keep this up to date as well. So you're going to have not only the handbook, but the website, of course, will be kept very much up to date and have the latest information so that if somebody finds a cheaper place if we find a cheaper place to rent that cell phone, we're going to let you know. So this is going to be this ongoing support that you're going to want. Now, we're also going to have a community of fellow freedom lifestylers. And I'm pretty excited about this feature because it means that you're going to be able to network with other people in the country that you've chosen. You're going to be able to network with people on your work to help you create income or learn more about banks. So if somebody is sitting there saying, hey, I'm starting this internet business, you will be able to network with other people who are doing internet businesses and learn what does it take to run an internet business in a freedom lifestyle. This is worth the price of admission right here as far as I'm concerned. And remember, this is dynamic information. It's not static. It's always being kept up to date by both the people in the community and by our staff. And we're going to give you that website free for a year. So we've put together a package here that's going to get you the hardcore, real information that's fine-tuned for you. It's not for everybody in the audience. It's for you and you only. The plan, the information, the action plan at the end, all of this stuff is designed for you so that you're not wasting a lot of time wandering the internet or wandering the world trying to figure this out. We're going to give it to you on a silver platter. But there's also very important things that I want to add to this. I've got a bunch of special bonuses. The first one is I want to give you a resource list of key contacts to help you create your freedom lifestyle. Obviously, we're going to be one of those key contacts, but it could be people like real estate agents in particular countries where they can give you that information. It can be other websites that are going to be critical for you. Another key bonus is we're going to give you a freedom lifestyle library on a brand new Kindle, absolutely free. In other words, we're going to give you a Kindle that already is pre-populated with a bunch of really cool books. Books that are going to add to your ability to live free overseas. These are going to be travel guides. These are going to be business guides. These are the guidebooks of even lots of other people, but they have great information, and we want to give you that great information, and we're going to give it to you absolutely free on a brand new Kindle. So, of course, if you're like me and you live a global lifestyle, of course, I live on my Kindle and my iPad. I can't carry books around with me, but I have huge libraries on my Kindle. So we want to start you out with a freedom lifestyle library, which we're going to give you free. That's worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars in terms of the cost that we're going to have to pay to put this whole thing together. And that's going to give you that jump start. We're also going to give you a $1,000 discount from any of my trading education courses. I do teach trading, And for some people, trading will be a good way to make a living overseas. For some people, it won't. But if you decide that you want to pursue trading as your way to live a global freedom lifestyle, I'm going to knock $1,000 off my cheapest price that I've ever given for the course for you. So I have given you the overview here. I hope you see that this is a compelling thing. For most people, this is going to be a very powerful step in the direction of living their real dream. This is not pie in the sky. This is not some type of, hype. This is concrete, hardcore. How do you be free right now? And so I don't want you to delay your freedom at all. I'd like you to sign up for our seminar right now. Let us jumpstart you. Let us give you the guidance and let us give you the raw material that you need right now to be free. Thanks very much. Please sign up right now.